On today's show, Luka Doncic drops a 42-point triple-double in a win over the Portland Trailblazers. But the most important thing, I think, was the last 4 or 5 minutes. Jason Kidd tried something new, and we'll talk about that coming up in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Letting it ride on a Saturday night, baby. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know what's one reason the Mavs won this game. Just give me one. There's a bunch, but give me one reason. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the Retroplex Rube, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I want to give a shout out to everybody who stopped us tonight.
Honestly, between the two of us, probably like 20 people. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Welcome to the Retroplex night. All the vintage stuff, it's so much fun. It's literally the best City Edition stuff since they've came out with the City Edition.
It is.
They had a big party there in Victory Park, roller skating.
There's a roller rink. They put a roller rink out in front of AAC. That was wild.
Brought out all the old school vibes. True Brand did a collab with them.
Their first collab ever. By the way, True Brand is the one that does the upside down Dallas hat that you see Isaac and I wear that a lot of YouTube commenters say says salad, which I find very funny, and so does my family. But yeah, they had a pop up in front of the AAC, all kinds of new merch and stuff. You can get it all online too. It's all very much available. Should I give them the QR code?
The jerseys tonight.
They gave out these shirts with a QR code on the back. So if you wanna get the merch,
somebody's scanning that. But no, man, the jerseys. Unfortunate that we didn't get the court tonight, but the jerseys tonight with the players. I mean, this could be my favorite Mavs jersey of all time.
Ooh, it did look nice. It
looks so nice. The blue and everything is so good. Luckily, they won. I was worried for Sean Heath. I leaned over to Bobby at one time and said, "Hey, is Sean Heath going to feel dumb if he's walking out of this place after a loss
with a fake mustache?"
Yeah, and headband, like all this stuff.
Sean Heath is the PR guy. He's the one that is like, "It's time to go to work. Let's go, Mavs!" Or like introduces Luka, or Luka, that guy. And he was all decked out. He had a wig on. He had a fake mustache. He had like all the gear on. He was like all decked out, ready for retro night. But really fun night in the AAC. Great to see the Dallas Mavericks obviously get a win, but all the ancillary stuff around it was fun as well. Let's get into the win, though. Mavs get a win 117-112, and Luka Doncic outduels Damian Lillard and Jeremy Michael Jeffrey Jordan Grant for 42 points, 13 boards, 10 assists, 2 steals, just 2 turnovers, by the way. And maybe the most important stat, he only took 5 threes, Isaac Harris.
I was getting worried a little bit in the fourth quarter before they made their run there, but he was shaved, clean cut.
I'm telling you, it's not even full conspiracy theory. This is a theory.
I feel like the pod after the Wizards game was a little subtweet at me, but I was like, I haven't shaved forever, and he was like going in on Luka. He's like, yeah, when he's just looking straggly out there, it just means. And I was like, do I take this to heart or?
As me, like the always clean shaven because my beard looks terrible person.
But Luka did look good. He did look good.
Shaved his face, looking great, looking more engaged for sure in this game. And I don't know, do we learn anything from this? Because the Mavs play up and down in competition. And so the Blazers coming in are a good team. They have a good record, right? What was it? They're like 9-3 coming into this game, 9-4 now. And you're like, okay, well, they just played up to another team. Are we okay with that? Like, at a certain point, sort of, because then you know that they're at least going to be able to play up to competition in the playoffs, which they did last year. But I don't know if we take anything after the two awful games that they lost that Isaac was referencing to the post-game pod like a couple days ago to now. But what I think the Mavericks did try to change, they did have a day between this game and then the Wizards game and that back-to-back with Orlando and Washington. There was less isolation from Luka. And in the sense that it was just Luka at the top of the key, everybody spreads out, and then just go to work. That's it. Like, I went back and I watched on Synergy all of his isolation attempts. It was only 10, by the way, in this game, according to Synergy, which they can be off a couple here and there. And it was mostly just like him catching the ball on the elbow, or he has Damian Lillard on him on a switch, and so he's going to obviously attack that. Or he had Drew Eubanks on a couple of switches. You're obviously going to attack that as the center of the Blazers since Nurkic was out. Like, it was a lot more manageable for him, I thought, in this game. And I could see the Mavericks trying to limit his touches, limit his amount of, the work that he does, and like, just by Josh Green bringing up the ball, or Dinwiddie bringing up the ball, or even Dorian, or like, they keep trying to add these little things. And I thought that they at least made an effort in this game to take the ball away from Luka a little bit, or at least limit the workload. He's still going to go off when he's going to go off, and you want him to. But I thought that they tried something after we were frustrated about it the last two games.
Yeah, 42-point triple-double for Luka. 10 assists, 13 rebounds in this game. But my favorite stat of all for Luka, 15 of 18 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
It's like, one, you got 18 free throws. Is that a coincidence that he only attempted 5 threes in this game and he got 18 free throws? I don't think that's a coincidence, because that means he's getting to the paint. Now, Portland was also playing a little bit of that defense of saying, hey, let's just dare. We don't care that Dame's getting switched off on you. If you want to score over him, sure, we're going to try to stay home. They still attempted 43 threes in this game, only hit 14, but it was those other guys. Here Christian Wood came into the game and had 10 points in 3 minutes. It was like, all right, because he was just feasting on. Portland didn't have Nurkic tonight.
They ran that 3 times in a row. That pick and roll, the 1-5 pick and roll with Luka and Wood, and they scored on all 3 of them.
Well, they didn't have Nurkic, so Drew Eubanks had to start. And then after that, they had Trendon Watford was their backup big, and he was only 6'8". And it's like,
maybe.
Yeah, and as soon as they put him in, Christian Wood, this is the Christian Wood effect on the second units here, because he could just feast on a guy like Trendon Watford, and he just got buckets.
You didn't have to say it like that. He has a family.
Luka cooked him a few times too. He was a minus 14 in this game for the
Trendon Watford, by the way, fouled out in 12 minutes. So,
but no, we'll talk about the end of the game and some of those big shots late. But Luka got help tonight, but also he only attempted 22 shots, and I say only because there's a game the other day he had 29 attempts, stuff like that. So felt like he had a little bit more help tonight. Yeah.
Let's get to the end of the game here, because I think that really stood out to me the most. I thought that ending the game, like, the Mavericks had different leads in this game. Of course, they blew a couple leads in this game, like they have been this year. Comes down to the wire, and you're like, all right, we got to do something different. Christian Wood has fouled out. The Blazers have been winning for most of that third quarter. We got to figure out something different. And so instead of just putting back Dwight Powell, who had a pretty rough night overall,
probably his worst game of the season so far.
Yeah, or putting in Maxey, who had been doing okay, but hasn't been giving them the 3-point shooting, hasn't been giving them a couple things that they would want. He's like, all right, let's just go small. What?
Or putting in JaVale.
He decided not to even put in JaVale at all, like in any way or capacity. He's like,
I was fully prepared for if they lost this game. Don't you believe I had a tweet ready saying the Mavs are 0-2 and JaVale plays 0 minutes?
That's a perfect tweet that you would send out. And the Jason Kidd decides to go small. So coming up, let's talk about what that lineup did and how the Mavericks are able to take advantage of the Blazers with that lineup. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you quickly about BetOnline. It's the best place to check out the odds and lines inside and outside of sports. You can go right now and see all the games that are available. You can see they have NFL stuff if you're interested in that. They have single game NBA stuff. They have future NBA stuff. If you want to do any future NBA stuff,
Yeah.
Who do you think has the number one odds to win the championship right now on BetOnline?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee and the Boston Celtics are both tied. Plus 55, plus 550. Warriors still third, plus 700. And then the Clippers, plus 800. I thought the Warriors odds would be a little bit higher. But Warriors, Clippers, then Suns at plus 1,000. Got to go all the way down to plus 1,800 for the Dallas Mavericks. They're behind the Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Clippers, Suns, Nets. That one's weird. Cavs, Grizzlies, and then the Mavs. So go check it out. It's BetOnline where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. We're talking about the Dallas Mavericks game. And
can I give you a fun spread thing real quick?
Yeah.
Since we did a BetOnline ad, I'm pretty confident the spread for this game was 6.5. And the Mavs were up by 7, and Dame misses that 30-foot shot.
He chucked that shot.
And it just bounces out, and Anthony Simons just throws up this 3 at the buzzer that was totally meaningless and hits it. And so Portland covered. And I seen some tweets about it after the game. It was like, this is one of the dumbest covers we've ever seen in an NBA game. So anyway, just wanted to.
The Mavs were a 6-point favorite, or the Blazers were?
6.5.
The Mavs were 6.5.
Mavs were.
Wow, that's kind of surprising to me considering how good the Blazers have been.
I mean,
so at the end of the game, 4 minutes left. The Mavs decide to go small. They put out Luka, Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. stays out there, and the 2 wings in Dorian and Reggie Bullock. What did you see
after Christian Wood fouled out?
After Christian Wood fouled out, what did you see from that super small lineup?
I mean, they're a little bit more flexible. Obviously, when you put Dorian at the 5, it's like, all right, well, you're just going to switch everything. Honestly, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here, but I don't feel like I learned a ton in that, because I don't think it was as much the lineup. They didn't have Eubanks had 5 fouls. It's also Drew Eubanks, and you're not trying to, you're not going small saying, I don't know, Eubanks is just really gonna, take advantage on the other end. So you're doing that against a team that really doesn't have a big out there, and even a lot of the shots. I don't know if I'm crediting a lot of the shots because of, freaking Spencer Dinwiddie hit 3 straight clutch threes. Dorian hit a clutch 3 at the top of the key. So it's like some of these things were happening. I don't know how much of that was because of how they went small, but I love it. I love that lineup, by the way.
Here's one thing I think that did affect the play with that small ball lineup. I thought they got more space with that. Yep. I thought their threes were more wide open. The extra swing pass would always go to what was that? The third one that Dinwiddie hit, it was on the left wing, where you're just there's literally no one around him for 15, 20 feet maybe. And I think they got a little bit more spacing with that lineup than they normally would have or have been. And they had extra decision makers with the ball. They had, extra guys that can bring the ball up. They were a little more.
You're better defensively because, the swapping out Dorian for Christian Wood, obviously you could defend a little bit better in that. But Christian Wood's a good shooter too. So, but yeah, defensively they could definitely switch it.
You're definitely faster on defense. And like you said, Nurkic didn't play in this game. Drew Eubanks is going to kill you down low. Even Jeremy Grant didn't get a ton of his work done posting up and doing all that kind of stuff. He was just. That guy was just lights out.
He torched it tonight. 37 points. I was joking in the second half. I'm like, is he going to get a 40 ball tonight? But
almost.
I also want to say this. Damian Lillard, I was so annoyed tonight. I haven't been this annoyed with an opposing player in a while.
Go off.
Some of these foul calls, some of the selling, and I get it. Luka had 18 free throws tonight, and he sold a little bit too. But some of these fouls called on Damian Lillard, I'm like, all right, I know it's Dame, but what are we doing right now? There was a foul on Reggie to where he was just coming off a screen and just barely stopped, and Reggie just barely bumped it to his back. I thought Reggie got screwed on some calls tonight.
How about the one on Dwight where Lillard just fell down in front of him? They called it.
Reggie stepped on the back of Lillard's
but they called
foot.
it on Dwight.
And then that one on Josh, you never see Josh say anything, but dude turned around just gave the ref an earful. And that was just a dumb. I don't know. It's just we see star players come through Dallas all the time, but it felt like tonight was just a little bit of, all right, this is just getting out of hand. This is dumb.
Was it? Did that ref maybe like, are they friends with Tony Brothers maybe, and they're in the brotherhood, and so
I don't know how many free throws did Spencer get tonight. 0.
did
Zero.
Did he really get 0?
Again, we need to check how many free throws. How many free throws has Spencer gotten since the Tony Brothers?
It was actually up, right? Wasn't it up? He like got 10 in one of those games.
Can we let's give him some praise though?
He's been awesome.
20 points tonight, but he hit 6 threes in this game. I want to see him more aggressive. He only shot 11 times tonight, but out of those 11, he's 7-11 from the field. But those 3 clutch threes at the end, big time. I mean, you need a guy like that to help Luka there in the clutch. I mean, what did they do? I mean, he got those threes because Portland was bringing a second defender over, and that's the type of defense I feel like we're seeing more and more this year. Is, hey Luka, we don't care who gets switched off on you. We'll dare you to beat us most of the game, and then late in the game we're gonna double you and dare these other guys to shoot and bank on. They haven't been, getting a ton of shots in the game. They're not feeling comfortable. They're a little cold and all this stuff. I feel like that's the game plan out right now on Luka.
We've really seen that game plan. Like, how many games have the Mavs played now? We've seen that game plan in like 11 out of their 12 games, I think, so far. Like, it really has been that same strategy. And so sometimes it's like I'm watching the same Mavs game over and over. And yes, them blowing leads and guys missing shots and a bunch of stuff is for sure, but it's the same strategy against them over and over again.
And I know some of the Christian Wood fouls out tonight, and it was like, all right, decision time. Who's he going to put in? He puts in Dorian, and then I think some
Bullock, but yeah,
and I'm totally down with playing Reggie over Josh Green. Is that hot take-ish?
On Mavs Twitter it would be, because I feel like they're all ready to ship Reggie out of town with the way that he's been shooting. He's just really struggled to shoot the ball, but.
Guys, this stuff went on for like another month last year, with Reggie, right?
We were talking about it in the media room. He only started shooting 40% from 3 in January.
Yeah, and this dude was one of the key pieces in the playoff run, playing a ton of minutes. I don't know.
I'm giving, for his career shooting numbers and everything and what he did last season, I'm giving him more the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, give him.
It's just peak fandom that when we're 12 games into a season and we're like, hey, we're gonna ship off the 40% 3-point shooter who just helped us get to a conference final. Like,
frustration in him missing is one thing. Like that. That's fine. Like. Tweet it out. like tweet it out. Sometimes you have to, right? Elon's tweeting it out right now.
And it's just it's just misses. It's not like he's like driving to the basket, turning it over, and he's just not playing his game. You're like, all right, this is just like dumb. Like, what's going on? He's missing, but he's a good shooter, and he'll find his groove. I'm confident he'll find his groove. But even if he doesn't, we need to give it a little bit more time before I'm like, hey, Jaden Hardy, you want to take Bullock's role? I'm like, come on.
Yeah. One thing about Luka earlier, I have a couple of notes here. Jason Kidd said something interesting in his post-game presser. Tim Cato of The Athletic, who we know listens to this podcast, asked him about the 5 threes and about how he that Luka took less threes than he has. And he said, is that something that you guys are telling him, or is that something that he just comes up, or is that the game plan? And he said, Jason Kidd kind of beat around the bush a little bit. And then he added this little aside that was like, he also didn't fall down as much in this game or spend time on the floor. And I found that really, really interesting, because it was true. For one, Luka wasn't like flopping or doing as much like selling and on the floor, like falling down and things like that, where we see him grab his funny bone again. Like, how many times has he hit his funny bone
all the
this
time
season so far? But I found that really interesting as a point of emphasis from Jason Kidd, that Luka hasn't, fallen down, or in this game specifically, and that he noticed that. I found that really interesting.
And it's not just falling down. Luka falls down very
easily,
Oscar worthy, very hard at times. And those things do add up after a while, taking your energy and everything.
And it affects the defense on the other end. Like, this is all stuff that I'm sure you see on a daily basis when you watch the Mavericks. You're like, hey, Luka just fell down and tried to sell this call, like went all out to sell this call, and now he can't get back on the other end on defense. So it all affects all of it. A couple other notes. So Tim Hardaway Jr. had, like, He had I don't know what I would say. He scored. He had 16 points. He was plus 23. He's plus 23.
He scored.
He's like, well, it's like, I didn't want to say he shot the ball well because he didn't, right? Like, but he found ways to score.
Did he play defense well?
I don't think he played defense well either, but he's a plus 23 off the bench. Like those minutes going against the bench units were good. He had 5 assists in this game too. But the thing that I asked him after the game, he goes 3 of 10 from 3. He's not shot the ball well in every game except for one this year, really. And I was like, is there anything different coming back from an injury? Like, he comes back from a foot injury. Is anything different when you are jumping or cutting or anything like that? Like, what's the hardest part? And he said, you know what I'm doing is I'm jumping too high on my shot. Tim usually jumps high on his shot. Like, you see him really get elevation when he takes a jump shot. But he's jumping too high, and he said, I don't need to do that. I just need to calm down. I'm kind of amped up to get back, and I'm excited that I'm back and playing, but I'm jumping too high, and I found that interesting as well.
That was really interesting. I thought one of the more fascinating things to hear or like read or listen to him explain is Ray Allen talking about his shot and how much of it's lower body. Hearing guys like JJ Redick, these shooters like Tim Hardaway, it's whatever, just how much the lower body affects the whole shot and all of that. But he did have 16 points in the game. And I was joking about his defense stuff because, he's not good on defense at all. But man, Jason Kidd loves him. It's like, if we wanted Josh Green in the closing lineup, it wasn't Reggie, it was Tim. If I was going to put Josh in over somebody, but even then, I was like, all right, cool. You want to finish with Tim? That's fine. But Kidd likes him, and he's a good teammate, but he can be frustrating as a fan too.
You know who had 2 assists to Spencer Dinwiddie's late threes in this game though? Was Tim Hardaway Jr., who made the extra pass and didn't just chuck up another shot that was a little bit contested. He went for the better shot. He did the Ted Lasso, Jamie Tart, made the extra pass, and he got it to the right guy. And I think, does that prove that Jason Kidd made the right choice? Like, I think so. I think so in this game specifically. But yeah, at times in this game, he was getting worked by Jeremy Grant. Like, anytime he got switched onto him, I was like, oh man. Oh, God.
Christian Wood, I thought he played really well offensively.
Yeah.
He's got to work on the offensive fouls, though. And that's not all just refs. Like, you look at some of his offensive fouls this season. He
had that hook on Damian Lillard at one of them, and you're just like, that's so obvious. I looked down the bench, and I could just see Jason Kidd like, why does he do that? This is really his expression.
But yeah, it's stuff like that. The 6th foul on Josh Hart on the rebound. It's like he should have blocked him out, and he didn't. He was ball watching. Yeah. And Josh Hart came flying in for the board, and by the time he realized that he was fouling him, it was 6th foul. So it's like that's just some discipline stuff that hopefully he'll get better at, and he'll figure that out. But would they have finished the game with Christian Wood with 4 minutes something to go? It looked like it. I mean, he played a lot in the fourth. It looked like
they finished the first half with him.
Yeah, it looked like Kidd was gonna leave him in there, but we didn't get to see it, and I mean they ended up winning the game, so that's fine.
Yeah, they really benefit from his extra scoring punch, just the options, and he's great in the pick and roll when you can get him going, right? Like they had that run in the first quarter. What I didn't understand was you come back in the second quarter, and like they had run that pick and roll in the first quarter really well when the second units were out there, and then in the second quarter when Luka came back in, they were playing Wood and Dwight together, and I'm like, that just negates that whole thing that you just had in the first quarter where you had this advantage with Christian Wood as the 5. And instead they put Dwight in there. And if you do Dwight instead of Maxey, like you don't get the spacing with Maxey and you just only have Dwight in the lane, then all of a sudden this lane is packed up because Christian Wood's trying to either take advantage of a mismatch or run a pick and roll. And then Dwight's down there in the paint in the dunker spot too, because that's where he can only stand. So I thought that was an interesting move. In the second quarter, they lost their lead in the second quarter, and I thought
they were about 16 points at one time and lost it.
I know they almost blew another game like this again.
They also got killed on the offensive glass. They had 12 rebounds,
by a small team.
Yeah, Portland had 12 offensive rebounds in this game. Second chance points. They had 20 second chance points in this game.
That's where they got killed. It wasn't the offensive rebound because it was 12-7, but. The 20 second chance points to 9. That's where it really hurts you.
Yeah, I think it even started the game. 3 straight shots missed, offensive boards,
exactly.
second chance points.
Yeah, they had 2 offensive rebounds in the first 2 minutes of the game, and it was a 0-7 start.
Yeah, so they were just getting beaten down low, but hey, they pulled it out. I was really worried there in the fourth. I'm like, this is going to be a tough one. 3 games in a row, losing that. Up by 16 again, losing the game. So they pulled it out, and now they're 6-1 at home this season so far. So I feel like it's a reverse from a year or so ago to when we're like, dang, can they just win a game at home? Like, I feel like every game I go to, they lose. But
Tim Hardaway Jr. was wearing a hat that said, I tweeted it out, the sky is falling is what it said on the hat. And I was like, that's what it would have been like if they would have blown this game and lost this game. It literally would have felt like the sky is falling. Turns out it was just Russell Westbrook's brand. So
yeah, he's supporting his future teammate.
You think he's getting traded? Wait, who's getting traded, Tim or?
I was going to say, which side of that? Something to look out for too is when Luka's going to rest. We were saying on this podcast back last week of like, hey, these are some things we were listing out things we want to see. One of the things I threw out there, I was like, a rest day for Luka. It looks like it's going to come pretty soon. Jason Kidd said
he mentioned
pre-game that it was a conversation about him setting out this Portland game. He obviously didn't. It's looking like it's going to be one of these games with a back-to-back. They have Clippers on Tuesday, Rockets on Wednesday. Naturally, it looks like it would be the Rockets game.
Get ready for that Rockets game.
I think they've only won like 2 games or 1 game.
If you've got tickets, maybe adjust your schedule. Maybe.
But you never know. Maybe he really needs the rest right now. It's like I would rather take that night off against the Clippers and come back and play the Rockets and try to get that.
He doesn't love playing the Clippers or anything like that.
But we'll see.
There you go. Guys, thanks so much for listening to us and hanging out with us and Locked On Mavs. Thanks to everybody that came up to us today, too. I know we mentioned that at the top, but there's a whole bunch of people that were like, Raccoon Squad, or like talking to us. We love that.
Shout out to the DM I got tonight saying, hey, there's a City Edition beanie. This is all you for the pod. You need to get this. And I DM back and I was like, I'm going for it. It's happening. So here you go.
He's wearing it.
For you.
Literally wearing it on the pod today. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.